Everybody. So we're going to jump right into this. As always, subscribe and click notifications. What we're going to go over is extremely time sensitive. We're going to cover exactly what transpired in the markets today. At the end of the video, we're going to go through the indexes. Very important to see what happened with the SOX today and how it held. We're going to go through the Qs in detail as well as the S&P. But let's get into stocks first and foremost and just look at what's transpired here today, because I think it's important. So nothing's really resolved here. This was a short that I recommended up here, and I even gave a level here today. And you can see how we ran right up. And if you open this up, and this is Tesla, we opened right up and we went right to that rising channel. And now we're just sitting there. We didn't go through it. Tomorrow's option expiration, the most pain that they could possibly put anybody in is to pin the stock, which means they'll pin it and then, maybe then it drops. But this is still set up to drop, and this is exactly where you can actually even add to the short position, and then if it just flips back in the channel, just get out. And you can see I drew this today and showed people when it got up to this level, that's where you could enter your short, and I increased my short there. Came back down to here, reversed, and then you can just overlay, a 15-minute chart and see exactly what transpired, right? So when you see something like this, and if you're down here and you break this rising wedge, you might want to get out of the trade and then see if you can get a better entry. You're just looking at these little time frames to see what's going to happen. Now, this frankly looks like a double top to me, and I don't see this going anywhere. But we are grossly oversold, so it can bounce. So you just have to honor your stop. It flips back into here, or it gets above the 50-day, or I'm sorry, the 21-day, which is really at 668. I mean, that would be the reversal, close above there. We've only closed once above there. But I think it's going to take a lot to make that happen. SE, you have this downward slope, and look at this. Like, this is so textbook. Let's clone these lines. We always clone them, right? And by cloning them, that allows us to show the trajectory of what's going on. Let's get rid of these indicators. So you're still in this channel. Nothing's changed. You just bounced up. You broke major support at 212, and now you've just bounced up. But there's nothing here, that's great. And even if you look at this, you see this level right here, but there's even this level, and you couldn't get above that today. So this is not something that would make me warm and fuzzy where I feel like I have to get right back in. Because you're oversold, you bounce. It doesn't mean that you go back up. It usually means that you go up and then people will probably try to put the shorts on until they don't work anymore, and then we reverse. And we're just not there yet. But I would not be a buyer of this yet. I would wait for it to break out of this channel before I got into it. So NVAX. So here was the downward trend line, and I think this is really interesting. So if you look at this line's been here forever, and we showed it on this breakout, and look where the low was today, right on this downward trend line, right? That's why sometimes I just leave these lines in, because they will point to other, older places where it might hold, and we held here. I gave this one on Twitter today, where I said, hey, I think we're going to break, and I did that. I think it was like 195 on that news. And if you don't follow us on Twitter, you might want to consider it. But so right around here when this started happening, and then you have this wedge. Let me show it. So you have this wedge right here, right? And we're going to get rid of this arrow. There we go. And then we're going to clone this, so you can see it right next to it. And this is NVAX. So once you broke this down here, it was pretty clear. It was like 191, and I just put out an alert on Twitter saying, hey, this is going to break, and it did. I didn't expect this. I expected 20 points. There was 30. 170 was your cover, and I put that out there that I saw this curl and that you might want to get out of it. And that's exactly what it did, and then it pressed higher. So what do you do with it right now? Absolutely nothing. This was just a day trade. And, I would just tell you right now in this market, and we're going to get into the indexes at the end, you just need to be nimble. I mean, you need to be really, really nimble. Like, look at your stochastics if you know how to use that, or look at your momentum indicators, look at your VWAP. You need to be really careful right now and very tight with your stops, because this can get worse. Just because we bounced today doesn't mean anything. I'm glad we bounced today, but we're going to get into where we're at on the indexes. So the crowd, we're just turning here. You have a downward H, and we stopped right here, but there's really nothing here that this is actually, we can remove this one and we can clone this one because you can see this channel here. But what you're seeing is here's your H, your lowercase h, and we're not really doing anything. We just kind of rallied up a little bit. Even if you make a higher high, this is going to push to 193. Until I clear 193.70, I don't have an all clear on this. And I still have to get through the 21-day and the 50. We'll get to those in a minute. CVS, look, this line's been here on CVS. These are really easy tonight, these charts. 74.13, we can't get above it. Boom. And then you get above it here. Get above it here. So you're setting up here. I mean, you should be able, maybe you can't, so let's just draw it. But you should be able to see this, right? I mean, you can see this trend line right here and how the 21 is being supportive of it. So this is consolidating. I mean, this is not bad. I bet you if we throw in the 5 and the 8, you're above both of them. Yeah, so you're above both of them. So this is acting very good. Really, I would say that your close is above 74.13, but every time we've gotten above there, we haven't rallied. So you're going to have to use some other levels and some other indicators maybe to get a little closer of a chart, maybe a little bit better, like get above this line before you add this time, because 74.13 doesn't seem to be doing it. So maybe it's a 75.40 flip with, being above this wedge and then being above these two things. Then now you have a reverse head and shoulders here, and then that could propel you higher and back into this channel. And this channel's right here, right? So this has potential. 75.40 would be the flip, and I like this. I like this idea. ZI, ZI really. Let's get rid of this over here and over here, and let's clean up these indicators for a minute. So right here you broke out, and now you're set to go higher, but you really are failing this level again, this 54.72 level. So I really don't see a sense in doing anything here. You're just in a trading range, and until you break out of that, and you might not want to hear this, but I would wait for 58.45. So that's what I would wait for. And I'll do Bitcoin in a minute. I'll do that at the end with the indexes. MP, I just really want to run through the stocks. So MP, look at this. Here's your base, right? And you broke it. You've broken your downward trend line, and you have 3 days, technically you have 3 days to get back into this, and you're not there, right? You're just not there. You're below your 50, you're below all your moving averages, and you're rolling. So this is not something that makes me warm and fuzzy where I would say, hey, you need to get in this. If anything, I would be very concerned about what we see here. This looks like it's going to get back up to this 50 and then reject and roll. And you have a wedge here, and you're on the lower end of that wedge. And don't get, as I try to explain to people, I've been doing this for about 20 years. So, don't get upset if you don't see these clone lines and where they are. It takes a while. And I think I'm going to do some beginner videos to show people how to draw these things properly. Just a very basic. I'm not going to get too crazy right now. Maybe later I'll get more intense with the advanced stuff, but just basic how to draw lines, supports and resistances. I think there'll be some demand for that, frankly. So you see how you are in this trading range right here? Now you're at the lower end of it. I mean, that's interesting, right? But what do we need to do? We have to get above the 50, the 5, the 8, the 21. We have to flip back in the channel. I mean, I'm exhausted just talking about it. And then you have to break this. So there's a ton that needs to happen. For what? 4 points, 5 points? I mean, that's exhausting. So I would not be going near this yet. And you could even see how you didn't even close above this resistance line right here. So, that would be the first thing. If you were hell-bent on owning this one, you got to get above this 36.80. ZIM, just a monster day for it. And I understand it, especially with shippers and what's going on right now in the Suez Canal. This group can move. And we were in and out, and we broke even on it from the newsletter. Let me get rid of that. And at one point we're up 20% on it from the newsletter. And if you don't get the newsletter, it's free. Just subscribe to it. Link is in the description. Comes out 3 times a week, and there's actionable ideas. But you see how you bounce here, and then you break this out, and now this is a pretty solid close on a bullish engulfing. This is nice stuff. This is really nice stuff. And let's drill down into it on the 15-minute, and just see. Yeah, this is really just monster buying, above average buying at the close all day long. So this is exactly what you want to see. And look for a follow through tomorrow. You get above, like here, look at this little line right here. Look where you're closed, right? Bonk, bonk. Look, it supports it here, closed here, here. So there's your trigger, 26.55. If you flip 26.55, you hop back in this channel and it may go. That's very interesting, and that should be on everybody's radar. CCL, you went right to the 50-day and bounced. You got a bunch of bad news. Look, if the small caps rally, which I'm not a huge believer in, and we're going to get to that index shortly. But look at this. I mean, this is really very, and let's shrink this down, and let's go a little back further. And let's shrink this down a little bit more and go back further. So, you can see here, this is where we broke in March. And what did we do? We consolidated here, we hit the 50, and then we bounced off, and now we're at 25.61. And we're over that. But the 50 is support now. This worked. Not only did it work, we went through 2 levels of support. So this did work. You need to get above this 21-day moving average. That's my personal opinion. It's another dollar to wait for. Get above there, and then you're back in this channel, right? I don't know if you can see this channel, so we're going to draw it. So you have one here, and then you have another minor one right here. So flip back in this channel, get above the 21, right? And now you can just clone this one because this is the larger channel. There you go. Yep, fits perfectly. It's crazy how technical analysis works, right? So you can see how you're in this range, right? And this is a smaller one, but I still want to flip it, get above that 21 and push. And we talk about this with the Bollinger Bands. So we've been through this before, and let's get rid of all this stuff so you can see what I'm talking about. So when you look at the Bollinger Bands, you see how you couldn't break above that? That's when the bears came right back in charge. Boom, couldn't break that, and then wham, down. Now you've rejected here, which is exactly what you want to see, which means when you reject here, you go back to the mean. So chances are this goes back up to here. And the easiest way to look at the reversion to the mean on Bollinger Bands, and there's 2 standard deviations is how they're set at the range, is the 21-day moving average. I don't care if you use the 20 or 21 day. That 10 cents is not going to make a difference in your life. Use what you're comfortable with. But that's very interesting. CCIV, we got stopped out in the newsletter with a $1.50 loss. So let's just see what's going on here with the indexes. I don't like this chart at all, and I think a lot of these, see how you're at the bottom end of it? You could bounce back to the 21 day, but that really gets you to about 25, 26. I need to clear all this and have this double bottom put in. And I think it's a false double bottom that's consolidating because of the bands in the range. And I'll tell you why I think it's a false double bottom. Usually if you have a double bottom, you have to break the original bottom, and you didn't do that. So technically it didn't happen. If we had gone through that and broken that, then you might say that this is it. But I would watch this 26 level, this 28 level. To me, this is rolling and not something that I want to jump into. And I'm just going to give you, something that's probably not too popular. You need to be really careful with SPACs right now. I would be looking, if I was interested in SPACs, I would be going through their cash levels right now, and I would be seeing who's trading close to cash or under cash, and focus on those. And the other thing I would do is see which ones broke their bid, because chances are if they broke their bid, meaning where they went public, chances are they're going to go back first if you're interested in SPAC stocks. So let's get rid of this Bollinger Band because we're doing a little too much there. And you can just see this is just nasty stuff. I mean, lower high, lower high, lower high. Again, we don't undercut these. So since we don't undercut it, we truly do not have a double bottom. And to me, I don't even have a higher high on the day. I can't even get above the 5-day, and these are all pointing down. So to me, this is rolling, and today was a great day. You're going to need to see a huge green volume day like this, where all this volume comes in, not these above low average days. that we're seeing right now to get involved with. So, and then you can see how we bounced on SLBK or SBLK, same way, right? Same way. And we broke, I think we broke even or lost $1 on this one. But here's your range, right to the 50, boom, and right to this resistance. Flip this resistance, I'm above all my moving averages, I'm back in the channel, and I could go up here. So this is actionable. So I would watch this line, and how did we get to this line? Let's go take a look at a weekly real quick and see how we derived this. Okay, so that's how we derived this. 15 and 3, well, I was going to give you fractions. That tells you how old I am. So 15.38, and what you can see here is this reversal on the weekly, and we're trying to get above it. Get above that, call it 15 and a half, get above that, and then you could really flip here and run. And that would be a solid close. Like, you have to understand, that's a solid close on the weekly, right? Because you'd be above major resistance. Resistance would flip to support. It's exactly what you want. 3 more, and then we'll do the indexes and Bitcoin. So, and as always, please comment. Tell me which one of these you're interested in, which, what added the most value. I'm doing this to educate people. So the more feedback that I get, the more it tells me which way to go with these conversations and how I can add value. So here's AMC and how you broke down, right? You rallied up through here on the weekly, you bounced. Now you're trying to break through here and you can't. You came back down, but look at these higher highs the whole time. I'm a big proponent in this stock, and I think this is going to go a lot higher. Now I have to look at technicals, and frankly right now, all I have is an enormous bull flag as I'm just building and basing in here. That's what I have right now. I have not closed below this 771 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks now. So that's really important. And this shows that the trend is changing. And you can see it a little more here. All I really have is this rising wedge, right? And rising wedges are bearish, and they usually end with a break. But this one's not doing that, is it? Actually, technically, you know what you should do? Because I'm going to confuse people by drawing minor ones. Let's draw the major one and show you this. So you're not back in that channel yet, right? And why is this the major one? Because this is the one that was in place before it broke. That's why this is the major support line, or major trend line. And if you clone this, you'll notice that it probably, bonk, fits perfectly there. So you see, you got to flip back in here and then get through these levels of resistance. But once you flip into here and you're in there, now you're in the channel. Now your entry and exit is almost planned for you. If you get in the channel, you stay in it. If you pop out of the channel, you sell it. I mean, this is a really easy trade. And you're shooting for the top end of this, the 15, 17, 16 level first. Why you consolidate in here, and that's what we're looking for. So look for this flip. We're already above the 21 day. Get me above the 5 and the 8, and this thing could run. I don't think AMC is done yet. And we're going to go through these 2 little guys that people had an interest in. And this does not look like one that we looked at before. NMTR. And as always, if you could do me a favor and click the like button if you find value in this, because that's how the algorithm gets me in front of more people. And I really want to show people what it takes to be truly successful doing this and consistent. Consistency is key. Anyone can, buy the hot stock, but that's not how you make money over the course of decades, which is really what everybody should be focused on. So you should be focused on how to constantly do this, not doing it once. But you see how you're at the lower end of this? Here's the higher end. Boom, flip. You got plenty of room here, man. Like this is really very interesting and should be taken into account. Like this is a tiny little stock. I got it, but if I was really interested in this, it's really kind of interesting because you're right on that lower line. So I would use 128 as my stop. Well, what's the low? Let's get you an exact number. Yeah, use 128, 125 as your stop. Because if you break through this channel, you do not want to be in this because you're probably going to go down to here and nobody wants to lose 20%. But you can go back to this level. I mean, you're in a trading range. So, and then SNDL, I know people are upset with. Look, you're below the 21, you're below the 50, you're rolling. This is a nasty H pattern, and I did not form a double bottom. if I had to bet, this is going to continue to roll down. Now, what would change that? Pop over this 128 line on high, huge volume. But look at my volume line. See how it's decreasing? So that's not really what we want to see, is it? Now, let's just run through the indexes real quick. First, I just want to go through a couple things. Let's go through the stocks today, and let's look at what really happened. And what we're going to do here is we're going to get rid of these indicators, and we're going to get rid of everything. And we're just going to look at bars. And let's just start completely over so you can look at how these got there. Okay, we're going to leave the weekly ones, and maybe we'll throw on the weekly to start. So, yeah, consider this is the notes from last time from the newsletter. So this is what's going on, okay? And this has been here for probably since here, probably 3-4 weeks, and I haven't moved these lines. Look at how it's respecting those lines, right? Just look at it for a minute. Forget about moving averages, the new cloud, widgets. Just look at price, and it tells you what it's doing. Lower highs, higher lows. What are we in? We're still in, right? We're still in a bull market in the stocks, and we're not breaking to the downside. So this tells you what's going on. The move of this on the weekly, frankly, will be where we go. Now, tomorrow, if we pop through this and close above this, and I'll give you a key level that's going to get everybody's attention, right? This will get everybody's attention on the institutional side if this happens. And it will affect the entire market and all underlying tech. So it's pretty important. Okay, get above that 428 and a quarter, and you're going to see people go, I'm underinvested. I need to get back into this. And people start putting trades on. And that will drive tech, and it could just spur a short-term rally, as we consolidate and build, or it could get you really moving. So that's something to definitely consider here. And just watch that level, 428. Now, if we throw in the bells and whistles, you can see the lines. The 5 and the 8 are rolling, but we're above it. See how we didn't break the 21 week? So just like that 21 week. So let's get rid of these for a minute so you can see this. Watch what happens when you throw in these Bollinger Bands. Okay, here's that lower line. We never closed below that lower line on the Bollinger Bands. So when people say, how can you, still be bullish? I haven't even broken down on the semiconductors yet. I mean, I know there's absolute carnage out there right now. We're seeing it. But it's really in the lower end quality stocks. It's not in your NVIDIAs of the world, right? Like if you go and look at NVIDIA, AMD came in, but AMD had a huge run. Look, here's NVIDIA. You rallied through this, you didn't break, but you're in this wedge. And you can see the other part of the wedge right here. So you can see what's going on with the stocks. But let's just go through the IBB now. And this is, and we're going to use the weekly. So this is a 5-year break on this. Okay, where are you above? You're above this Bollinger Band on the weekly. All I've done is come down, test a support line, and hold the support line. That's all I've done so far. So the IBB, which is the biotech, is hanging in there. Let's go to the Qs. Wow, we got a lot going on here. So I'll probably get through all these little things. Maybe we should start there since I think they pop up on all of them. So this is what I was pointing out today. And I was saying in chat that this could hold. It did not hold. I went long here. It rallied. I got stopped out here. I got whipsawed all day in this. And you can see why. Even at the close, my belief is that into tomorrow and the Friday that we could roll, and I actually have a small short on the TQQ right now. I think that it is exhausted, but see how these humps are? I just think that you have to undercut at least 304 before we're done. But right now, we're holding in there, and let's just go and draw this line so you can see this. Okay, so it's not a coincidence that this line hit right here. That's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that we're below this. This is the weakest of all the averages, which makes sense because of what's going on with treasuries. But this doesn't mean it's over. This just means we're consolidating, right? And that's when we have all these little levels that I keep looking at and waiting for us to get above, like the 312 level, right where you're at. And we know where the other levels are, but let's just draw this one because this is, staggering. Right? Get above this now. Get above one of these higher peaks and we'll start moving in that general direction. Until that happens, I'm just rounding and I think I consolidate before pushing higher. But I think we could have another downward move on this. Now, who knows when the rally comes, and I'll be the first that if we hit a higher high to cover that position. So the IWM, okay, we broke the channel here, right? And let's get rid of this. And the IWM, we broke the channel here, and then after this, I'll do the SPY and then Bitcoin. And what we see happening here is you see a channel, and now you're going to pop above it. 218.18 has been our key level. Look, we closed right below it, setting up to roll. Not undercutting this, again, is a pain in the butt. If you undercut this, you could say that it's a double bottom, but technically, since it didn't undercut this line, it's not. So let's see what happens tomorrow. And just for point of reference, let's look at the weekly. And you can see how you have this upper trend line here, and now you flipped over this one. But there's nothing to do here. You have to sit and watch and wait. And I did throw out the TNA trade today when I did it long. And, you know, it did work, but then it sold back down. So I have no position in the TNA right now, and it ran away from me. And that happens, and I'm okay with it. I think it could come in again. So I'm more interested in buying things at the right price now than chasing, because this is chasing and chop is how you get cut up. So here's the SPY, and you can see all these levels, right? All of them. Hold on 1 second. This one moved. So let's put this one back. So you can see how all these levels are coming down, but they're still being respected the whole time. Now let's go to the daily on it. Nothing's changed. You just had a higher high peak. I mean, nothing has changed. Even look at this. Look at these lines. Like nothing. You know, so there's nothing wrong here, and we're just looking at price. And that's pretty much it. And if we can go through, let me just do this really quickly. Go through these. I know they have a good crypto. Here we go. Futures. And let me just go through this real quick. And let's just do, here we go. Bitcoin, US. Here we go. So here's your levels. And I stated this the other day. If you break this, you're going to have a problem. And we were setting up for it. And I called this, and I'm not using GBTC right now because it's trading at a discounted value. But when this transpired, I said, you're out of the channel. This is where you would trim. And you can go look at the timestamps. I leave everything on there. I don't erase anything. I think that's, you know, crazy. But see this channel? You're at the lower end of it here. If you break through this channel, you're going to 42, this level right here. Now let's throw in these moving averages. And you can see, right, there's a 21-day, here's the 50-day, and this is what you're trying to do. You're just bouncing around. It's good that you closed above the 50-day. You got to get above the 21. But the way these are pointing down right now leads me to believe that this can come in a little bit more and pull back. So let's see how tomorrow plays out, but I would not be chasing this here. If you wanted to buy it, you know, your buy point is at the low end of this channel now, right, which is at 48. I'm buying here. You have no edge. And buying below the 21-day right now, why it crosses the 5 and the 8 to the downside, is not the best move in the world. You need to flip back into this channel, and you're just not there right now. So that's what you're looking for. So that's it in a nutshell. It's short and sweet tonight. As always, please comment. Let me know which one you thought had the most potential for tomorrow. And I wish everybody massive success.